Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 38 of the Bill podcast, and today we'll be going through Alfred, which is a productivity tool for the Mac operating system. Before we get started, let's briefly look at three very important related websites. The first one is the main website, which is alfredapp.com. Over here, if we go under features, it will briefly tell us what we can do and of course even more. So it is basically, it gives us a hotkey that gives us easy access to different files and folders and many applications residing in our local machine. Apart from that, we can also do quick searches on the web, whether it is a Wikipedia, Twitter, YouTube, Map, and many more. And finally, as a developer, we can even run shell scripts or even create some workflows that will automate many of our processes. And of course, comes with Alfred are very clean and neat little theming and of course some clipboards and snippet functionalities. In order to download Alfred, it is actually free, but if you want to get some of the power features, for example, workflows and some other features, you'll need to buy the Power Pack. In this episode, I will be using Power Pack and we'll be exploring through some of the premium features as well as the free features. Next website that is very related is support.alfredapp.com/start. Over here, this is the go-to website for everything about Alfred, and this will give us a lot of tutorials and even the extras gallery, which I believe will be coming up in the next few weeks, will give us a sneak peek into other developers' works on Alfred app. Lastly, there's also the blog.alfred.com, and over here I always come for the tips and tricks column so that we can kind of get what others are doing with Alfred app. So let's get started with Alfred app. Now I have already downloaded, as I explained here, and I have already installed the Power Pack, and if you have done so, you will find that the Alfred app is found in the menu bar right at the top as a hat right here. So let's just click there, and I'm going to go to preferences. Now, by the way, just as a note, I am using Alfred version 2.0.2, which as of today came out just a month ago. So a lot of things are very brand new. So this means that we are looking at a lot of new features, including workflows, which were actually extensions in version 1. So the very first thing we'll be looking at is the General tab, and over here we will look at the hotkey. In my case, I have set it to Option Space. So when I do Option Space, notice what happens. Yes, that's right. This is the Alfred keypad or the interface that comes up, and over here we'll be typing commands to make us do a lot of functionalities. So that's pretty neat. On the General tab, it's pretty self-explanatory what you can do. For example, you can even set where are you from, of course check for updates as and when it's needed, and I like to launch Alfred at the login. Next, we will go into feature, and in the course of this episode we will be going down this list. So first we will start with the default results. I like to keep it as such as it is here. If you want to customize it, go ahead and add in the search scope. Next, let's go on to the file search. This is where things get really interesting. Dash podcast, there you go, and if I press enter, now by the way, if you look at the right hand side, these are the keys that you can click in order to open this up. So if I press enter, notice what happens. Yep, my build podcast finder window pops up. However, if I want to do find, let's see what happens. So if I do find and then a build podcast, that will also open up the folder itself. Similarly, you can also search for inside the file with the keyword in. So let me try that once again, and this time I'll search for Alfred. And there you go, it's opening up the README file that is part of this episode's show notes. So just using the keywords open, find, and in, you'll be able to navigate through a lot of files, folders, and even words found inside the typical file. For navigation, buffer, and action and advance, I'll just leave it to you to explore because it is pretty self-explanatory. The next one is the web search, and this is where things get really interesting. Now, I have obviously customized a little bit over here, But generally it will say that you will typically have a keyword here and then a display text, and using this keyword you can make a lot of searches. So let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to try again. So the very simplest one is G. I've obviously renamed Google to G because I tend to use that so much, and this will basically give us a Google search. Imagine you don't always have to launch the browser to do the Google search with just a little hotkey, and let's just search for Alfred app. There you go, you have google.com and search query Alfred app, and it opens right there for you. Isn't that really neat? So I'll come back to my preferences. Now, what if you want to search for an image this time? So let's try that once again. My hotkey, my keyword in this case is IMG. So I'm going to search for IMG and maybe Alfred app, maybe a logo, and I want it in PNG format, and enter. And there you go. It opens up the Google image for Alfred app. Now let's try something a little bit different. How about Amazon? So let's say you're searching for a book and you want Amazon. How about something on productivity? And yep, there comes a list of all the productivity books that are available on Amazon. And as you can see here, I have also included LinkedIn, YouTube, even Wolfram Alpha, and much more. Now what if you want some custom search? Now as developers, we frequent this site called Stack Overflow, and this is something I've added in. So let's just try that. So I'm going to go for Stack Overflow SO, and let's say I'm going to go for CSS hyperlinks just as an example. And there you go, it brings us to Stack Overflow list of questions and answers that are available. This is really important for me, especially when I'm coding and I'm stuck with something. Now what if you want to add in your own custom website and you want to search inside? So let's try to add one. In this case, I'll try to add github.com, and let's say you are searching for a jQuery. So let me just clean up the URL a little bit, and I'm just gonna remove the URL from ampersand onwards so that it's a little bit clean. There you go. So the URL for a typical search query is github.com/search !Q equals to jQuery. So in order to create a custom search in Alfred app, I'm going to copy this entire thing, come back to my preferences, go ahead and add a custom search, and I'm going to put here the search query. Note here the instructions. They say you have to replace the search with the query string. So I'm going to put here query, and title I'm going to put here GitHub, and this is the shortcut you're going to use. So I'm just going to say GitHub for a shortcut, and validation, let me just use a jQuery this time, and let me just test it, and yep, it's working. And just as a final note, I will just add a drop icon over here. So why don't we go ahead and use IMG search that we just learned. I'm going to use GitHub logo and PNG. So there you go, I found a nice one, and just drag and drop it right here. So there you go, my custom search is almost ready. So I'm going to save it, and now I can do a search. So let's say GitHub, and I'm just going to say Node.js. Let's see what comes up. There you go. So all the projects related to Node.js will be available here. So custom search is something along with other searches that I use very frequently throughout the day. Next, let's get back to the Alfred preferences, and we will go through calculator. This is also something that I keep using just so much. So in order to do some simple calculations, you can just fire up the hotkey, which in my case is Alt and spacebar, and you can just start typing 2 times 3 minus 7, and of course brackets are also used at this time. Now what if you want an advanced calculator? As explained right here, advanced calculations will have some trigonometry functions as well as some math other functions. So for example, let's just say you want a ceiling of 9.04, and that should give us 10. And what about a floor? There you go, it gives us 9. Just to note that in order to use the advanced calculator, you have to use equal to sign just before it. Isn't that really neat? Now all you need to do is just enter, and the answer will be copied to the clipboard. The next feature on the list is the dictionary feature. I have once again kind of redefined the keyword into a shorter one. From define, I've just said DEF. So let's just see DEF, and let me just search for productivity. It will immediately open up the dictionary app, a very neat handy little tool for our vocabulary every day. Finally, let's go to the contacts list. Now over here by default, I'm not showing contacts. So to do that, I'll first have to open the option here, contacts, and I have to check it. And this will not be enough. So let me just search for my name, and you'll see that the contacts are not coming up. That's because you need one more step in system preferences. So let's just open up system preference, and over here you need to go to security and privacy, and finally you need to go to contacts, and over here do click Alfred 2 app. And for this you'll need to restart, so let me just restart it. And now when I try to search my name, yep, there you go, I have all the names. So let me just go for the jscam.asia. You'll have a neat little contact info over here for all your contacts, a very easy way. Now wouldn't it be nice if I can also email the person directly? So for that I will have another keyword, and this time I have named it as just email. And then I have checked in Gmail. If you're using some native Mac OS client, then you probably don't have to check it. And all I need to do is just do the hotkey for Alfred app, and this time instead of my name I'll do email and then my name, or rather the name of the person you want to email to. And when I press enter, notice it will open up the browser and it will go right into my Gmail, and it will open the new message template all ready for me to type in the message. Very quick, very fast. Next, let's go on to clipboard. Now I personally did not or rather do not use clipboard because I use something else for my code management, but it is also really handy if you want to use clipboard or snippets to kind of store some of your commonly used code block or even some information. Once again, these are pretty self-explanatory. Next is the iTunes. This is something really handy as well. So let's just say Control, Command and Enter, and once you do that you can even search through your album. So let me just play Amelie and one of the songs, and you can even launch the song right from the Alfred app. There are some shortcut keys over here that you can use, and even some advanced options. Now finally, there is some 1Password integration. If you have some kind of password manager, go ahead and use it. Now I believe at some point these are done by the Power Pack, so if you do not have the Power Pack, you can either choose to buy it. Next, let's go on to the system. This is really interesting. Some of them that I continuously use is to open up the trash or even empty the trash, start the screensaver, of course, sleep, lock, and so many more. And finally, as a developer, I find this terminal and running shell commands really useful. So firstly, you can use a prefix, so you can use the one that you like to use. So for example, for me, I just use this greater than sign, and for application there is terminal, custom. For me it is iterm2. So I have a little shell command that starts a little project. So I'm gonna start it with, and then I'm gonna say start project and then the project name. So start project is my shell script. So once I do that, notice it will immediately open my iterm, and there you go, it will open up and it will run it in my desktop. So similarly, you can create your own shell scripts and just run it with a defined prefix as defined in your preferences for Alfred app. Next, let's get on to the appearance before we move on to the workflow as the last bit. So appearance is the appearance of this little pop-up that comes up. So by default, it will be the default theme. I'm of course using the light and large because I like to see the text as large. But seriously, there are so many more. There's one called Pistachio, which you can try out as well. So if you try build-podcast, you can see the color schemes that will appear. Now, one of the sites that I like to go to search for themes is the forum itself under Alfred app. Over here you will see many of the community members searching for themes and sharing theirs. So for example, there's one on flat UI just shared about a month ago. So there you go, there's a flat UI theme that you can take and use it. Alright, so this is another Alfred theme. So let's try to install one of them. So I'm just going to click here for the link. So installing an Alfred theme is really easy. All I need to do is click the theme that is downloaded and just drag it to the preferences. So yep, I'm going to import it. And yep, I have chosen milk chocolate. And now when you turn on the hotkey, you will have the milk chocolate theme. So it is as easy as this. I'm just going to change back to the light and large. But let's also learn how to create our own theme. So I'm just going to click plus down here right at the bottom and create it by your name, save. In order to create the color scheme, it is really easy in the Alfred app. All you need to do is double click on that area and there you go, you'll have a color palette popping up. I have some color schemes right here in my color palette, so maybe I'll just choose this. There you go, it's almost changing here, and then I'll choose this, or maybe this one is a darker color, this one is a lighter color, and maybe the background color can be this. And how about the text? The text can be this. No, it's a little bit light. How about this? So there you have it. I have created my very own theme in just a few seconds, not even minutes. And if I want to export it, all I need to do is just click share here and then export theme. And just like how all the other members in the community of the forum has done, I can even post a note here, hey, I've created a new theme, do check it out. So this is how easy it is to create and share new themes. So do go ahead and give it a try. The other thing you can look at are the large type. Sometimes Alfred can evoke some very big notification on the entire screen. We'll go through one of them later on, and some options. So notice here, I like to do some options. Here there's always this hat and a little gear button that comes up. If you want, you can hide them. And when you do this right now, yep, there you go, it will be a very clean pop-up notification, or rather pop-up box for Alfred app. And finally, we will look at workflows. So once again, you will need to buy the Power Pack in order to get into workflows. And workflows is something very new and found only from version 2 onwards. So over here, I have already installed some of the workflows. For example, here are more add-ons to what Alfred can do. For example, I have added this really interesting one called colors. So the way you do it is just option spacebar, or rather the hotkey for Alfred, and then you can start typing in the colors. So for in this case, you can either say C and then the color name, which in this case may be olive, and there you go, it's giving us all the different formats of colors, whether it's a CSS3 color name in HSL format or in hexadecimal format, RGB format. Really clean and easy. If you want, you can even do it in hexadecimal, for example. Yep, that looks pretty cool. But Alfred workflow allows you to create and edit them as well. Now next we will install a workflow called the currency converter, and we will even edit them. Now since version 2 is barely there for a month, there are many workflows already, and there's this blog post just this month, early this month, and Alfred team has shared some of their favorite workflows, and some of them do go ahead and download and try. There you go, I've tried the colors one, and upon researching I also popped upon one of the developers blog, and he has shared plenty more workflows, and one of them is called currency converter. So I'm gonna download it, and all I need to do is just drag it here, import it. You can even read what the workflow is doing. So the keyword in this case is convert, and what it's going to do is, let's see, so there you go, it's going to convert from euros to dollars. And with this handy little workflow guidelines, it even tells you that it will copy into the clipboard, and it will even give us a little push notification. The other thing that it will also do is from dollars to euros. That looks pretty cool, so why don't we try it out? Convert 24. Yep, that's pretty neat. The first one is from euros to dollars, the second one is from dollars to euros. Now what if you want more currencies to be reflected? The first thing we will be learning is how to edit the workflow. So let me just go ahead and click it, and there you see you have some code here, and if you read the code we should be able to edit it. So the very first thing I'll do is I'll say from SGD, which is Singapore dollars, to USD. So let's see, so there you go, you have EUR, so I'm going to change this to SGD, and in the result also I'm going to say SGD, and instead of the symbol I'm going to write SGD. And in the next line there's USD, and instead of the symbol I'll do USD. That looks pretty cool to me. How about the next one? So let me do the same thing to the next one. So here I'll do USD to SGD. So once again I'll change this to SGD and the USD right here as well. And of course in the query to Google as well, I'll change So that is pretty cool. So why don't we try it out? So convert $15. Yep, so there you go. It says 15 SGD is 12 USD and 15 USD is 18 SGD. Now, what if you want to have more currency? How do we edit it further? So in order to edit it, we will go to this plus sign over here, and notice here, this is actually inputting a script filter. So let me go to input. There you go. And I will choose script folder. So it looks pretty similar. Now, I don't really know. So why don't we go ahead and try to edit this? So I'm just going to take the entire thing, copy it. So remember, the keyword is convert, and convert from something to something, and escaping everything. All right, so save. So let me do the same thing here. So I'm going to save it. Convert from, how about euro to SGD this time? So I'm going to come right here and I'm going to put it as EUR, and yep, EUR. So that looks pretty good to me. Now this is not enough. I will of course want the output to be copied to the clipboard, and I also want the result to have a push notification. So that looks pretty good to me. So let me just arrange it neatly, like how all the rest of the developers did. So that looks pretty good. So now when I do convert $15, it should give me 3 results: Euro, USD, and SGD. That looks really cool. And of course, if you want from SGD to Euro, you can go ahead and convert and add one more. So as you can see, creating, or rather editing workflows is really easy with just click of this little add buttons. So do go ahead and give the other workflows a try. They are constantly updating it, and since this is something new, you can find a ton more in the coming up months. So finally, we will go ahead and create a brand new workflow. Now this brand new workflow will be really easy. So all I'm going to do is just input a word, and then I'm going to display it all over the screen. You know, it's like a big notification of some kind of announcement that you might want to do to your audience. So let me just add a blank workflow in this case. All right, so the workflow name, let me just call it as shout out creates big words on the screen. So bundle ID, maybe later on I'll just create an icon, but not for now. Created by your name, website if you have a GitHub account, a GitHub repository where you're hosting this. All right, so create. So that looks good, and there you go. It will give us a completely blank one. So for this, the keyword will be B for big, and maybe the title will be shout out and subtext. All right, so save it. And so what does it do? So I will come here and output it to large type. This doesn't seem any action, so it's just as easy as that. So let me just connect it. And are we done? Let me test it out. So I'll say B, hello, and enter. And there you go. It will just stay on the screen for as long as you want. Imagine you're speaking and some people want to see maybe the URL or some other important, maybe a phone number or something. You can just create this large type for anybody to see. And once you click it, it's gone. So let's try again. B, and then maybe build-podcast.com, some URL that you might want to share. So it's as easy as this to create a workflow. Of course, it can get as complicated as we want it to be. And so that's it for this week's episode of Alfred. I hope it gave us a very big picture on what we can do, especially as a developer. We can run shell scripts. We can fasten our time in order to execute apps and find stuff inside, and even create our own workflow. So let me briefly go through some of the websites that might come in handy. One of them is called Great Workflows to help us get done more with Alfred version 2. So here the author lists out other workflows that might be handy, and the good thing is these are all for version 2 as well. Next, there are 2 developers whose website you might want to check out. One of them is David Ferguson. He shares a lot of workflows as well as themes. And the next developer is Florian. Of course, we use the currency converter from Florian as well. Finally, there's also the blog post by Jeffrey Way, one of my inspiring people who can explain things just so well on how web developers can use Alfred. Now, although this is a little bit older website that uses version 1, Nevertheless, the concept of using Alfred with shell scripts and using boilerplates to create, let's say, a backbone project in this case is indeed very helpful. Finally, I want to point out two other websites that are very similar to Alfred. One of them is called Launchbar, and then the other one is called Quicksilver. They also do very similar things like Alfred. With just a little quick keyword or a hotkey, it can do a lot of tasks. And finally, for the build link of the episode, it is the Boag World. It comes with a podcast as well as very, very useful blog posts that I highly recommend you to subscribe it and put it in your RSS feed. They are very easy to understand and very customer oriented as well. So if you're doing a lot of client work as well as creative work for yourself, Boag World is a resource that is definitely to be checked out. And that's it for this week's episode of Build Podcast on Alfred app. For the rest of the episodes, the older episodes, be sure to check out build-podcast.com and subscribe it through one of these means such as RSS, GitHub, iTunes, YouTube, or Vimeo. And I will see you next week. Goodbye.